Hey, what's up, guys? So yes, J-Wing here with the review for Star Wars Rebels, Season 2, Blood Sisters. This was a really awesome episode. Really, a lot of good things came from this episode. A lot of interesting things I really did like came from this episode as well. And that is the introduction of the new character, Ketsu. Probably the last time we're going to see her. I'm sure I butchered her name, but I'm sure that might be the last time we see her, or maybe, and then we also get to see a little bit more of Sabine's backstory. So, yeah. And another thing is we get a prominent role from a Gonk droid, if you guys haven't noticed, because in Star Wars there isn't really a whole lot of Gonk droids that provide a real big part in, the Star Wars saga. But, well, yeah. So, yeah, so first of all, I really did like this episode. I really did like the characters as well. For an introduction, for the first time, we see Ketsu. I think that's what her name is. I'm sure it is. She was very, what's the word I gotta say here? Very kind of mysterious and kind of bounty hunter-ish, as we can see from her, outfit, and she acts kind of like how a bounty hunter would, and, I guess that's stereotypical. Maybe if we would have, if we could see her a little bit more in a couple more episodes, we could do well into her character a little bit more, but that wasn't the point. The main point was for us to kind of get a little bit more of a feeling for Sabine, and Sabine was she was my least favorite character in last season, and even though I did like her, but she was my least favorite character because, okay, she's a Mandalorian, they're just trying to play up to the fans and stuff like that, and she's a spray paint artist, okay, whatever, and I didn't really care for her like that. But now, in this episode, we finally get to see a little bit more of her backstory. She was in the Imperial Academy, which we already knew. And then she became a bounty hunter, which is interesting. And then that's how she became, and then she eventually figured out, this is not how I want to be. So then she finally, became a rebel. And I really did like that, because it's very cool and a very interesting transition to see that. Because, it's kind of like the way that Asajj Ventress went as well, if you kind of pay attention in her arc. Spoilers right here. She started out as a bad guy in the beginning of the Clone Wars, and towards the middle, she kind of became like a bounty hunter. She's kind of an anti-hero sort of thing, and we got to see that. And then when she was at the end, she was a good character. She did become a kind of a good guy. But that did lead to her downfall, and she died in the end. But she did it out of a noble act. So, maybe she's following along the paths of Asajj Ventress. Maybe, I don't know. I picked that up a little bit. Very interesting. But yeah. I really did like. The one thing I would really like to see is kind of the backstories behind the characters and who they were before. Who they were before they all became the rebels. Like, I know Kanan and Hera's story are, explained, like in the comic book, which I have now, and in A New Dawn, which is also, which I've got. And so, yes, also another thing that, that I would like to see that backstory of behind these characters, because it's interesting, because I would like to see a little bit more of, Sabine's backstory of how she went through the Imperial Academy and how she transitioned from being a bounty hunter to becoming a rebel. And I'd really like to see that, because it'd be a very interesting character arc, because we know the character so well. That'd be interesting to see. Maybe a story arc for Season 3, maybe? I don't know. If you guys wouldn't like that idea, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd really like to know. What else? Oh, yes, Zeb. I'd really like to also see Zeb's backstory a little bit too, maybe. Because, we know a little bit about his backstory that, sorry guys, that he, we know his, planet and, his kind of race is kind of extinct because of everything that's happened with all the Imperials and everything, and those rifles, those certain rifles, those disruptors, those TC disruptors, I believe. I know they're disruptors, but it'd be very interesting to see that, and especially this episode, it did spark my interest a little bit more of like, I want to learn more about Sabine's backstory. I want to know how, how she went through the Imperial Academy and how she became a bounty hunter and how her and the chick met. And it'd be very interesting to kind of see that. So, yes, I felt like Ezra got a little bit kicked in the dust in this episode. But it was a very cool episode for Chopper as well, because he kind of had a little bit of a bigger role, because he had to go. He went and tried to save Sabine and he did, because he turned off her the gun, the turret, and it was very very funny, and it was very also funny when Chopper got stopped by the tractor beam. So yeah, that was also pretty funny. So yeah, guys, that's probably about it that I want to talk about this for the episode. Next week's episode though, that looks epic. That looks like it's really gonna take a toll on our cast of rebels, especially Rex, Ezra, General Sato, and Kanan. So definitely really looking forward to seeing where we kind of are in that episode, because I could see that they're getting picked up by an Imperial transport or an Imperial, an Imperial ship, and they're getting boarded and stuff, and something happens, and it looks interesting. So what would I give this episode? I would definitely give this episode probably a 4 out of 5 wings. It was a strong episode, but it was a good episode. It wasn't great or amazing, but it was a good episode, and I really did like it. I really didn't have many complaints. I just would have liked to have seen more. Maybe a little bit more of Sabine's backstory. Maybe like a flashback or something. That'd be cool. That's something that we haven't really seen a whole lot of in Star Wars Rebels, as flashbacks, because that happened a lot. If you guys would see, like in the Clone Wars, we saw that happen. A few times we saw. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Star Wars Rebels Season 2, Blood Sisters. I'll see you guys later. Chill, wink, winking out.